Hi, so I am at day 3 of the pre-trial of the microgreens, and I just want to go over some processes for how to check on your microgreens. So we should have an automatic timer that turns on and off your pump, which sticks to the outlet automatically. Mine, so I can show you mine. I have a different one than what I'm going to use for everybody because I couldn't find these online. But this is one of my favorite timers. It's programmable, so it allows you to program the on-off events. So ideally, it turns on for a few minutes and then it turns off. Now for the mini system, I'm not super familiar with it, so I'm not sure exactly when to turn on or off the water. This is a lot cooler than the greenhouse on campus, and these channels are a lot shorter. So it's typically at the greenhouse, it waters 7 times a day and for like 2 to 3 minutes. In the summer, that might increase. You might need to water them every hour because they'll dry out really fast on a hot day. Or if it gets cloudy and humid, it might be too much water. So that's challenging. But for this system, I'm still trying to determine what is the best watering. So right now, let me show you what we have going. I have some black oil sunflower microgreens that are 3 days now, a little bit less, and they're just starting to germinate. So you can see those roots coming out, and the lower hypocotyl, or the smaller part of the stem, is even starting to poke out in some areas. So I am taking observation notes, which I will add to this spreadsheet, on the fact that a lot of the roots are emerging, the lower hypocotyl starting to emerge. I even see some of the cotyledons unfolding from the seed hull, just a little bit. The burlap is wet, so I will take note of that each time. I just watered them for 1 minute. So that's that procedure. But we also want to check for the pH. So I'm going to lift this lid up and just move it over so that I can access the water in my tank. So this does not look like much. It's just water in my tank. So I'm going to take my pH probe and EC probe, which the pH probe is already calibrated. So I want to open up this cap. And it's actually good to store this wet. The pH probe, if it dries out fully, could actually break. Interesting thing about pH probes, they typically like to be stored and kept wet. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. And what I want to do is stir it in my tank. I even have a spare tube here that I've been using to stir my tank. And that's good so that your water is at equilibrium, so that your reading is representative of all of the water there. So the ideal pH for hydroponics is 5.8. That is the sweet spot. And that basically allows plants to absorb fertilizer more. They're going to absorb the hydrogen of the acidic pH, and that keeps them healthy and happy. Too high pHs or too low pHs can either prevent your plants from growing or being healthy, and it can also promote certain types of mold and fungal growth. So it's important to check your pH. So mine's reading 5.98, which is pretty safe. Between what I said, 5.3 and 6.0 is that range you want. 5.8 is that sweet spot. So I already adjusted this earlier. I'm going to show you how to adjust it. So 5.98, I want it to be a little bit less than that. So I'm going to grab my pH down bottle, which is an acid solution, and open that up. You don't really want to get this on your skin. It can be a little bit stingy. And I have this pipette I'm going to use. I'm going to squeeze it and release it in the liquid. I probably won't even need that much. Maybe even just like half a squeeze. I'm going to put the rest in my bottle. If you want to be super safe, you probably should wear gloves when you handle this. Otherwise, using the pipette, it's not too risky. And then I'm going to stir to make sure that acid solution reaches all of the water and reaches an equilibrium so that my reading is accurate. Right? I wouldn't want to drop the acid solution and then do my pH reading right in that spot because it's not going to be accurate. All right, so that's a little bit stirred, and I'm going to put my pH probe back in there and stir it around. Oh, now it's reading 5.73. Still going down. Your reading will change pretty rapidly, and you want to wait for the reading to stabilize. So it looks like I added a little bit too much acid. 5.70, it seems to be staying at that reading. So I'm just going to write that down. That is a safe pH to be at, and that's fine. And the pH does go up over time, right? So the hydrogen gets absorbed by the plants and the water becomes more and more neutral as time goes on. So you will constantly need to be adding more of the acid solution, perhaps multiple times a day. So I already did this morning, and now it's about 4:30. I'm at 5.70. I just added more. So at 5.70, slightly lower than my sweet spot is good, because then it'll actually last longer. So I might not need more pH until tomorrow morning, or I might check it tonight. And again, that wet probe, just put that right back in the case. That'll actually keep it wet, and that is good. And I'm going to store that in my box. And I'm going to write down what the pH was. And then I'm going to add that to my spreadsheet. So that is the process of adjusting your pH. Now for the fertilizer, you might not need to change it. The microgreens don't absorb a lot of fertilizer, and that's a whole other process. But my fertilizer is actually the same it was this morning, very similar to when I filled this up a couple days ago. So I'm not going to add any more fertilizer. Really, if it goes like way, way, way low, like perhaps lower than 2,500, I might have to add more fertilizer. But otherwise, that's kind of complicated, so we're just going to leave the fertilizer as it is, because it's not that, doesn't fluctuate as fast as the pH does. So that is my daily check for the day, and I'm going to put my lid back on. And because these microgreens are still germinating, I'm going to cover them. So I have this oversized binder that I've been using, which fits perfectly to cover them. It's okay if a little bit of light goes through the cracks, but ideally the darker the better. And I did sanitize the bottom of this earlier, and so that just keeps them dark. Seeds do actually germinate better in the darkness. So that's my daily check. Thanks for watching.